afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of Prasar Bharati, DD News, DD Podigai, I warmly welcome you all to the DD Conclave on Union Budget 2022. I warmly welcome Srimati Nirmala Sitharaman, Honorable Union Minister of Finance and Corporate Affairs, Dr. L. Murugan, Honorable Union Minister of State for Information and Broadcasting, Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairying, Shri Anurag Singh Thakur, Honorable Union Minister of Information and Broadcasting, Youth Affairs and Sports, special dignitaries, panelists and invitees as a part of the discussion throughout the conclave. மத்திய பட்ஜெட் கலந்தாய்வரங்கம் நிகழ்விற்கு வருகை தந்திருக்கும் உங்கள் அனைவரையும் வருக வருக என வரவேற்கின்றோம்.
And also DG Doordarshan with us to answer your questions. So we'll have a mic here. If you can just raise your hand, we can make sure that the mic reaches you in no time. Ma'am, if you could just introduce yourself. And
Hello. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Nirmalaji, first of all, let me congratulate you. I've only heard you speak in English in Parliament and in Delhi. You speak stunning Tamil. I'm absolutely, especially demystifying such a difficult subject as the budget. On a lighter vein, I must say I agree with you. On the day you presented the budget, they had asked me to come to the Doordarshan for a half an hour on women and cooperatives. And I shuddered, as you said, Nani Palkiwala, all the big economists in Delhi, all those panels which were absolutely complicated. I said, no, I can't come in 5 minutes. But to be fair to what you said, so simply put, digitalized, and for half an hour, one could speak on the social sector or agriculture. I must say that completely demystified budget that a layman and somebody with, very little intellect in this area, I would say it is true. I testify to that. Number two, I would particularly like to congratulate this government, yourself, the Honorable Prime Minister, for the new Ministry of Cooperatives and a big allocation for the Ministry of Cooperatives, 900 crores, whatever, under the dynamic leadership of our cooperative minister, well thought out schemes. As far as the women's sector is concerned, we have done a lot of work on it in the last 30 years. I represent an organization of 600,000 women all over South India, the 4 states, and cooperatives. I would call this a very interesting theoretical budget. As you rightly said, the long-term vision, see, first earlier we had in the earlier governments a gender-specific budget that is targeting only the Ministry of Women and Child, and you had only 3% increase now. But that is not the story. The story is what you are sort of talking about, where infrastructure, where women will participate, move from the informal sector, where people like us, our women, are working in the informal sector and slowly moving up. So 31 years ago, stone cutter, these years we gave them an award as COVID heroines. They are employing 4 women. So these are women who started with 200 rupees loans. So the India that you are creating, the government is creating, and the budget that you have produced, it's a long-term vision. So women, affordable housing, water, everything else. Look at the women in the hills of Uttarakhand. On her back is her firewood. She's carrying the milk can and a child on the side. Now this woman is going to benefit absolutely, as you said, in 25 years, because this is not, according to me, a political budget. It is a completely economic budget. And if you can look at it in a long-term vision like the women, so it's not only the self-help groups, not only that, but the infrastructure is going to generate a demand where women are going to be moving into the 7 growth engines. So I must congratulate you and say that it's a gender mainstream budget as well as a gender specific budget. Once again, congratulations, and thank Shri Muruganji for this fantastic Doordarshan, who's doing a great job for a great event. Thank you
for your pointers and opinions, ma'am.
On Union Budget 2022, sponsored by Investor Education and Protection Fund Authority, Inform Investor, Empower Investor, Smart Investor, Bank of Baroda, We Live in the World, PaisaBazaar.com, Paisan Se Badkar, Indian Bank, your own bank, always with you. NLC, India Limited, creating wealth for well-being. Canara Bank, together we can. Nali Chinnasamy Chetty, Panagal Park, Chennai. Repco Bank, grow with us. Nippon Paint, Asia's real #1 paint. Print media partner, Dinamalar. Venue partner, ITC Grand Chora. I warmly welcome you all to the second session, Budget for New India, towards AATMA BHARATH, social sector and agricultural reforms. சுயசார்பு பாரதத்தை உருவாக்க சமூக வேளாண் துறைகளில் சீர்திருத்தங்கள் தொடர்பான அமர்வுக்கு வருகை தந்திருக்கும் அனைவரையும் வருக வருக என்று வரவேற்கின்றோம். Shri Subendu Ghosh will moderate the session. I welcome Shri Subendu Ghosh onto the stage.
Thank you very much, Hema. Good evening once again, ladies and gentlemen. Vanakkam. This is session 2 of Budget for New India, DD Conclave towards AATMA BHARATH, and our focus is going to be social sector and agriculture reforms in the region. Let me quickly warmly welcome our guests who are joining us in the program. Dr.Nandini Azad, President, Working Women Forum, also India Cooperative Network for Women. A warm welcome, ma'am. If you can just put our hands together for the panel of guests who are joining us now. Next we have with us Shri G. Vishwanathan, Chancellor, Vellore Institute of Technology. Warm welcome to you, sir. We are also joined by Mr. S. Sundararaman. You're a chartered accountant, also member of Society of Auditors, academic council member of many prestigious colleges in and around Chennai. Warm welcome to you, sir. And finally, we have with us Sri Malay Kumar Poddar, CMD, Agriculture Insurance Company of India Limited. So the focus of our conversation is social sector. The vision of Atmanirbhar Bharat cannot be complete till every section of society, every individual is empowered. Do everyone in our country, however remote a region they live in, have access to clean drinking water? How long will it take for every family to have a roof over their heads? Are we able to provide the best technology, best resources available to our farmers, to our students, to our entrepreneurs? These are questions that must concern all of us. And we'll try and see how does the budget articulate these very, very critical areas. So to begin with, to each of my panel members, I'll keep the floor open.
I'd first like to thank the Doordarshan for this very interesting debate, particularly digitalizing to the remotest corners this sort of discussion, demystifying the budget, as with the finance minister talked about. Now, in terms of my sector, I'm going to talk about the women, because this is, to use a cliche, more than half or less than half of the population, as well as the cooperatives, which is a new sector that has been initiated by the Honorable Prime Minister, as well as our own Minister, the Honorable Amit Shah ji, as well as the 900 crore allocation for the first time ever in the budget. So therefore, I think that these are, the cooperative is very different from the corporate sector. Here, dividends go to each one of the members. It's very different from the corporate where there is a big divide. So I think this is a big step to make the cooperative on a level playing field with the cooperatives, with the corporates. The second issue is on women. As I told the Honorable Finance Minister, in an ordinary circumstance when there is no war and no pandemic, this would be a brilliant budget for women. And this would be both gender specific as well as gender mainstreamed. That is creating a demand by infrastructure, 7.5 lakh crores, etc., where women will then move slowly from the formal. I myself, we have about 600,000 very poor women in the 4 states of South India, Tamil Nadu, Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, and Karnataka. And we have found that given sums of money, Hindi mein kehte hain, Kichad mein kamal. So you give them opportunities, and here are these women who started with 200 rupees and their children are engineers and doctors. Right. And they are employing other women. So therefore, the possibility of what the budget has envisaged would have been very perfect if not for the 2 obstacles, or the pandemic and the whole nuance of whether the war is going to affect us.
Right. Mr. Vishwanathan, sir, if I can come to you. In terms of education to sort of get water for the entire family, and that you work for women's empowerment. I want to know how transformative is this one particular program going to be for the women in the country, particularly in the hinterland?
No, I can't, just stick to one infrastructure program.
Sure. But this is particularly transformative, ma'am. Drinking water in a household has been...
No, gas, fuel,
certainly.
firewood.
Yes.
As I said before, you go to Uttarakhand, to many of the mountainous areas, the picture that comes to me, because I've been...
Yes.
The issue is, it is not only har jal wala hai. Dekhiye, you have to look at it in a holistic manner. The woman has 4 roles. It's the 4-armed Shakti, as I say. She's got a reproductive role, she's got a home manager role, she's got a productive role as a worker, as well as a community manager, or a worker in the panchayat, etc. So given that, what does this budget do for her on a holistic basis? You've got specific schemes in the Ministry of Women and Child. There's been a 3% increase.
Right.
You've got the Poshan Yojana, the Anganwadi, also the protecting the rights of women and children, because gender violence in rural areas is a very serious thing. So we've got to look at the 4-armed Shakti, as I say. Now, what you have said, we have to look at the affordable housing, we have to look at the electricity, we have to look at the gas connections, because, as I say, when I picturize a woman, not maybe in Tamil Nadu that often, except in the aspirational districts, I look at Uttarakhand, I look at the mountainous areas, where a woman is walking, as I said to the Honorable Finance Minister, with a milk can on one side, a burden of the firewood at the back, and carrying water. So therefore, most of the women's time and tasks are spent in managing and maintaining the household of the poor households. How then is this budget going to empower women to be more productive? Because I believe, I've told the Niti Aayog several times, you're talking about immunity during health, during the pandemic. You can't give her 300 rupees to get a wage and she's going to stand in your vaccination line. No. So therefore, we cannot look at a woman as a specific, gender-specific input. You've got to look at her in terms of all the infrastructure, what the build-up is going to be, financial inclusion, how the SHG movement is going to empower her, how the infrastructure movement is going to help her with the 100-day wages, with all the 7 engines. You've got to look at her, that her productive role should be enhanced. There's food on the table, that then her immunity is built. I've told the Niti Aayog, they've taken me very seriously. They're asking us to do a research in the 10 aspirational districts of South India, because they are saying livelihood is connected to water, to electricity, to then, affordable housing and gas connection.
Sure, the point absolutely taken about looking at the whole issue about women's empowerment in a holistic manner.
But this is the first time.
Certainly.
This is the first time that, as we are theoretical gender specialists also. So like you have a theory of urban infrastructure, etc. Gender, you've got gender-specific budgets, you're targeting the ministry. You've got gender mainstreaming, you're looking at mainstream. So therefore, if the war is not looming, if the pandemic was not there, it would be a perfect gender budget.
Right. I want to add one more point. In fact, you mentioned about the various roles that women play in the society, the social role. You mentioned self-help groups also. Anganwadis have also been empowered, and we've learnt about Saksham Anganwadis, more skill training.
Poshan Abhiyan,
of course.
So important to build immunity.
How significant, how transformative would that be in sort of the cascading effect when you empower the women worker, the women self-help group worker? How does that empowerment then cascade down to the society where she's operating and working?
See, my own work with the Working Women's Forum and the Indian Cooperative Network for Women, we are the founders of this SHG movement. Our founder was the person who pioneered the SHG movement in 1981. So we know what it is. We don't call it an SHG, but a credit group. The credit group becomes so powerful. Not only is it saving, not only it's loaning, it's creating empowerment. It talks to prime ministers. They give petitions. They have become empowered. It's an all-round vehicle where a poor woman doesn't want to take risk. In this group, she becomes empowered. She learns leadership. She learns capacity. Therefore, financially empowered, economically empowered, she can talk to the panchayat. She's becoming a member of the panchayat. When I was in government in 1987, we did the National Perspective Plan. We were the architects of the 33% reservation for women in panchayats. So a self-help group is not an individual group of just giving money, taking money, bettered money lenders. No. We are people who are units at the privatized units at the local level who are joining the economic mainstream. Many of them are moving towards the formal sector. Many of them are panchayats, MLAs, MPs, because political empowerment is the last thing that we want. This is what we want for women. So therefore, the small self-help group, which our founder started in 1981, has become a byword everywhere. We have 600,000 women. You can imagine the power. When there's no road, when there's no water, where there's no teacher in the school, these women are generating. So let's not think of it as only economic entities. They are also self-care units today.
Certainly.
You need nurses and hospitals. These don't. There is
When
a
we talk
depth
about
there
social
together.
sector, of course, that
That's
welfare
right. You know, you
aspect,
have to build
does
that.
come.
You can't expect the government to do everything.
It's
You
not
can't
just economy. Fair enough.
Call the panelists who participated in this session. Now it's time for felicitation. I would like to call Shri Mayank Agarwal, Director General, Doordarshan, to felicitate the panelists. Now, felicitation to Dr. Nandini Azad, President, Working Women's Forum, India Cooperative Network for Women.
Shall we put our hands together for the panel of guests who are getting felicitated now? Engaging conversation, a lot of interesting insights that I hope we will all take home and ponder over.